bike sharing. So how do you actually retrofit a street? And I'm just amazed walking around and driving around LA, I should say. We've been driving around LA and like your streets are so incredibly wide. They're amazing. I mean, they're like super highways in a city. So I know that culturally people are like, yeah, but I'd like to take that sidewalk and make it another car lane, because there's that half hour during the day, right, when it's congested. But what about the other 23 hours during the day? So, people think, well, the more lanes I have, the faster I can go. The faster I can go, the quicker I'll get to my destination. Absolutely false. And I'm not an engineer or a planner, and you don't have to be either to figure out that there's a stoplight or a stop sign every block. And it doesn't matter how fast you go. You're not going to get there any quicker. In fact, the slower you go, the more organized traffic flow is, the better the throughput is. And in DC, I can tell you I've watched congestion go way down. I've watched parking turnover get better, safety get better. Our fatalities in DC, all traffic fatalities, are down 83% over the last decade. We've grown over the last decade by 3%. Car registrations have fallen by 6%. So I know this works. So again, here's your typical one-way pair in a city. Bus lane on the right, which we don't enforce, 3 car lanes and a parking lane. And then here's after. A two-way protected bike facility separated by the cars, an illegally parked FedEx truck that blocks the bike lane, and 2 car lanes. But you know what? The average daily traffic on this street is 8,000 to 12,000 cars a day. You don't need 3 or 4 lanes. You don't need room for 25,000 cars. And if you do have that much room, what happens is people speed. So when we did our study, we realized that taking it down to 2 lanes of active traffic would actually get people down closer, they're still speeding, but down closer to the speed limit. We put in bike signals. So some people might say, well, why do you need a bike signal? You have the car signal. But we added turn lanes to increase the optimization of the roadway so that cars could turn with a dedicated left turn phase. We put sensors in the ground. And not only was throughput better on the street, I mean, they're still pulling the numbers, but anecdotally I can tell you it was better. But you hear people saying, oh, those horrible cyclists, they don't ever abide by the law. Well, they don't have a place to be. So if you're on the sidewalk, you get screamed at. If you're in the street, you get screamed at by usually some wealthy person in a Mercedes, like, get out of the way. I'm just kidding. But people yell at you. Gail's got a Prius. It's not Gail. It's not Gail. But what we saw is when you give people a place to be, you give them their own signal, you give them some respect, then look, they abide by the laws. We went from 31% of people abiding by the traffic laws to 81% literally in a week. That's pretty amazing. And when you look at the bike and vehicle volumes, during peak times, you have almost as many people on bikes. I don't have a little laser I'd show you, but right there, as you do in cars. And collecting this data is great because then you can argue for the next 25 bike facilities that you need to pull in. So Dearborn actually was named the best in the country by the American League of Bicyclists last year, which we were very proud of. There it is. And by the way, it's not just young white hipsters on bikes. It's people of color, it's older gentlemen like this. Well, shoot, I'm probably almost his age now, but it's a wide variety of people. And you don't just need, that was a big deal for us because putting a bike lane right through the downtown, and by the way, we got almost no pushback. And I give a lot of credit to the Active Transportation Alliance who went out and did a lot of outreach for us, but very little pushback. But you got to build a network. And as I was saying earlier, we're building a 645-mile network in the city. So this is an industrial area. And when I got to Chicago, this is Lake Street, I was amazed. There weren't even any street markings. Talk about safety issues. You guys have great street markings, by the way. Crosswalks are great. Part of it's our weather there, but there was just nothing going on. And so it was unsafe for everybody. So after, it just makes more sense now. Look at this, and then look at this. You actually have the same number of lanes, but people didn't even know where the lanes were, so they were careening around each other, passing on the right. Now we've got a nice, safe link for people from the neighborhoods into the downtown that's organized. By the way, very cheap to do. This is paint. This is actually thermoplastic and plastic bollards. Now that's not to say that behind the scenes there's not some really complex engineering going on. A lot of work going on, particularly with our 6-way intersections that we have. But it's worth it. Here's Milwaukee Ave. This is the busiest bike street in the United States. Over 4,000 people a day are riding their bikes on this street. Very simple approach. Because it ranges from like 42 feet to 72 feet, depending on where you are, you can't do protected, separated bike facilities the entire way. So every block's going to look a little bit different. Here's another block where it's truly separated. And this is what rush hour looks like on Milwaukee Ave. But usually now, like in season, in warmer months, the bike traffic goes all the way back. In fact, to the point where we've had to put passing lanes in on the bridges. So we have passing lanes for cyclists. Because you have the people on the divvy bikes that are going like 7, 8, 10, then you've got the hipsters doing, 17. So we have these all over the city now. We've built them on the south side, the west side, the north side, and through the downtown. And if you look at what was going on before Mayor Emanuel and I came in, things were pretty stagnant. There wasn't a lot going on with the bike program. And in 2011 and 12, we really kicked it into overdrive, which, by the way, one important thing to note is we didn't have any money. There was no budget for it. So we had to piggyback on our paving program and our existing striping program, and we had to literally rob Peter to pay Paul and just piece it together. We had CMAQ money, congestion mitigation, air quality money, to start to build really high-quality facilities, concrete, granite, and so on, right as I left. And we're going to kick out another 30 miles in the spring to hit the mayor's goal of 100 miles. Now, one thing I want to mention is that when you're putting in a bike lane project, the most important thing you can do is not call it a bike lane project, because you instantly bring about animosity from people. And the fact is, it's not a bike lane project. It's really not. I mean, Dearborn, you could say, well, it sort of is, but really, these are safety projects. And if you look at the traditional road diet that cities are implementing, this is what it is. It's going from 4 lanes to 2, 1 in each direction, a bike facility, and a turn lane in the center. And when you do that, the operations of the street are generally improved for cars. It's safer for pedestrians to cross. You can build ped refuges in the middle, and you have a safe place for bikes. Now, I'm going to get off track just a little bit real quick and talk about the importance of other aspects like enforcement. We're also putting in the largest speed enforcement system in the United States because in a big city, and I actually don't know if you guys have speed enforcement or not. In DC we did. It's a big piece of changing the culture. In Chicago, as big as it is, people are distracted by technology. We're going to use technology to stop them. Because there's a reason the speed limit is 25 or 30 or 20 around a school. When the speed limit's 20, 95% of people live when they're hit. When they're hit at 40, 80% of them die. It's a huge, huge difference. That's why we have urban speed limits that are lower. I don't know why this is here. I already showed you that. So now, jumping back into the bike ped stuff, just so you know, under the mayor, we made a $200 million commitment to bicycle infrastructure. And it's not just bike lanes. There's also the Divvy Bike Share program, which I'll show you in a minute. And there's trail systems. There are elevated rail lines, for instance, in cities that can be converted to multi-use, multi-active use trails and link neighborhoods together. This project, when I came in, it was on the books since 1998. The mayor told me, this is a big priority, I want to get this done. And he always goes like this, by the way. It's very serious. And we have no budget for it. And it's a minimum of about $45 million, but with all the amenities, $91 million project. We were able to find $50 million in CMAQ money, federal money, to get this project done. He said, I want to ride on it by fall of 2014. Because he set that goal, we were able to back into that goal. We went to construction in October, and the trail will be finished next October, so he can ride on it. And it's going to transform the neighborhoods from Humboldt Park to Bucktown. Here's a before, here's an after. It's an old Canadian Pacific rail line that's been abandoned basically for a while. We negotiated the land transfer, and we're partnering with the Park District and the Trust for Public Lands to build it. Other creative projects and funding, the Chicago Riverwalk, which is just really basic right now. This is what it looks like. Not very inviting. When you're on top on Wacker Drive and you look over, you don't even know that there's a Riverwalk. It's basically like a little sidewalk. So we put together a plan. We spent about $1 million behind closed doors and put together a plan, a conceptual plan for the Riverwalk that transforms it by building 25 feet out and really creates place again on the river and active transportation, including boating and kayaking. Here's another piece. This will have CPS, Chicago Public School classrooms, floating gardens, and fishing. Oh, and by the way, on this project, we got a $100 million TIFIA loan in 8 months. And so the significant thing about this project, and I think what I'm known for more than anything really, is getting things done quickly. And that's important because you don't know how long your mayor is going to be there. When I worked for Adrian Fenty, he was amazing. I mean, the guy was unstoppable, but he was only there for the last 2 years that I was there. So thank God we did a 2-year plan. So we started working on this May of 2011. By May of 2012, we had the plan in hand. Showed it to the mayor in August. He loved it.